Hello. I know you people from YouTube probably have better things to do with your time, but in the meantime, if you happen to watch this video, I'm going to teach you a little bit about some government. Today it's just basically talking about immigrants. I'm pretty much just going to read from this big giant book, and hope I entertain you a little. I know it will probably be boring, so if you don't care much about history and a Russian accent, then you probably shouldn't be watching this video. In the meantime, let's enjoy some of this. Now, I probably won't always be looking up at the camera, if you people like it when the person reading to you stares blankly at your face. Most people who read a book like to stare at the book so that they can actually read it to you. It's up to you, but I guess I'll just have to deal with figuring out what your comments are after this. This video probably will be a little bit long, being it's like 4 pages of straight text. So, how about we get started? Now, we're starting on Chapter 14, Section 1 of whatever big freaking government book this is. It's just talking about the government. Currently, we're talking about immigrants. It starts off, a nation of immigrants. Yes, a nation of immigrants. That's pretty much what the US is now. Oscar Handlin. I don't know who this Oscar Handlin is person, but whatever, let's continue. A well-known American historian, never heard of him, described what immigration has meant to America. He says, "Once I thought to write the history of the immigrants in America. Then I discovered that the immigrants were American history." End of quote. Immigrations and aliens. Throughout American history, immigrants have often been referred to as aliens. Now, I've never heard a person who comes as an immigrant being called an alien. When I hear alien, I'm thinking of those things that fly around in saucers in the sky. But that's just me. Now, alien is a person who lives in a country where he or she is not a citizen. Aliens may not intended to become citizens, or they may be in the country only for a short time, conducting business or working for a foreign government. For instance, an immigrant, however, is a person who comes to a new country intending to live there permanently. Classifying aliens. Now, the United States likes to classify everything, because it's already classifying things by gender, racial, all that sort of stuff. But it likes to classify its aliens, too. United States law classifies aliens into 5 different categories. 1. A resident alien is a person from a foreign nation who has established permanent residence in the United States. Thus, immigrants are residential aliens. Those things. Until they become naturalized citizens, residence aliens may not stay in the United States as long as they wish without becoming American citizens. 2. A non-resident alien. Now, this alien, he's not a resident, is a person from a foreign country who expects to stay in the United States for a short specified period of time. A Nigerian journalist person who has come up to a report on a presidential election is an example. He's just come over there for a short time to kind of write about the election. Whatever, it's just an example. It's an example of a non-resident alien, but let's continue. 3. An enemy alien. Like, if you're in war, your enemy is obviously not going to be an alien from outer space, but what if they're just a citizen from a different country in your area? Like, if we were at war with the Americans in Russia, we had some Americans over there, they would be an enemy alien. It's a citizen of a nation with which the United States is at war with. Legally, enemy aliens living on the United States are entitled to the full protection of their lives and property. During wartime, however, the public's feelings often run high. The enemy aliens have some, it's got that annoying discrimination that seems to happen quite a lot. People really need to get a grip. It tends to happen. 4. Refugees are people who escape prosecution or danger. In early 1990s, authorized refugees admissions averaged 121,000 per year. 5. An illegal alien is a person who... One second, I have to turn the page. Is a person who comes to the United States without a legal permit, such as a passport, visa, or entry permit. Most enter by illegally crossing United States borders, but many are foreigners who have stayed in the United States after their legal permits have been expired. The U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services estimate that between 2 to 3 million illegals were living in the United States during the mid-1990s. A lot of aliens. Aliens' rights. Now, people think that most aliens are probably just illegal aliens. That's probably not right, but whatever. Aliens' rights. They do have some rights, even though they're aliens. The protections that the Bill of Rights guarantees, such as freedom of speech, like this. I'm talking. I have the right to. They get that too, sadly. And assembly, they can group up, they can riot. Yeah, you never thought an army of aliens would be rioting against your business. I guess they have that ability. This applies to aliens as well as citizens. In addition, the Supreme Court has repeatedly struck down state government attempts to limit the rights of aliens. In 1982, for example, the Supreme Court ruled that the state of Texas could not deny free public education to children of the aliens. Like, if it's an alien and had a child, it has the ability to go to school. Yes, we're teaching the aliens now. Remember, we're not talking about aliens from outer space. Keep that in mind. You have to really think of that when you hear aliens. It's not from outer space. Aliens may own homes and use public facilities, just as citizens do, like me. Similarly, aliens are expected to share in many responsibilities of American life. They are required to pay taxes. Yes, they have to pay taxes. They have to obey the law and be loyal to the government. Yes, they have to be loyal. They cannot vote. Yes, they have to be loyal, but they can't vote. Correct. What other way is there to show American pride? How are you supposed to be loyal if you can't vote? Well, whatever. However, and they are usually exempt from military and jury duty, and unlike citizens, aliens are not guaranteed the right to travel freely in the United States. This restriction has been applied in times of war. All aliens, even those who have applied for United States citizenship, are required to notify the U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services when they change their residence. Now we're on to the next page. See, it's the next page. Immigration policy. The Constitution clearly assigns Congress the power to control immigration policy in the years before 1882. However, Congress, they rarely exercise this power since the United States immigration policy has gone through 4 distinct stages. In 1882 through 1924, the growth of restrictions, yes, they got worse for these immigrants. In 1882, Congress passed the first major federal immigration law that buried entrance to people such as the mentally handicapped. If you have a mental disability during this time, you couldn't come. Poor people. And you couldn't be convicts. Or something called a Hoopers. I'm not sure what that is, but hopefully you can figure it out. In that year, Congress also passed the Chinese Exclusion Act. I mean, they didn't want these Chinese to come. What is up with this? It's America. Can't have Chinese here, apparently. Well, this was back in that time. Don't worry. You're safe, Chinese people. It was pretty much Chinese laborers. At the same time, the law prevented all foreign-born Chinese from acquiring citizenship. This provision marked the free time a federal law had restricted either immigration or citizenships on the basis of nationality or ethnicity. The number of restrictions grew steadily in the next 3 decades. Many Americans feared that the immigrants from Asia and Southern and Eastern Europe would take jobs away from United States citizens. The new immigrant languages, appearance, customs, and religion were different from those of earlier immigrants from England, Ireland, and Germany. Despite the many restrictions, the number of immigrants soared. And between 1882 and 1924, about 25 million immigrants entered the United States. 25 million. You know, that's like taking a large number. Well, actually, that is large. Whatever. 1924 through 1965. National origin quota. In 1924, Congress took a more drastic step towards restricting immigration. The Immigration Act of 1924, also known as the Johnson Act, lowered the number of immigrants allowed into the country less than 165,000 per year, and an 80% decrease from the years before World War I. It also favored the immigrants from the Northern and Western Europe. The national origins system gave countries such as England and Ireland high quotas. Because many Americans were of England or Irish descent, the quotas assigned to countries such as Greece and Italy were low because there were fewer Greek or Italian Americans. During the next 40 years, immigration dropped sharply because of During the next 40 years, immigrants dropped sharply because whatever, it's some word, okay? Something about relating to it. I don't know. Few people in countries with large quotas were interested in coming to the United States. Immigration Reform Act of 1965. Congress passed the Immigration Reform Act of 1965, abolishing the systems of national origin quotas. The 1965 law set up 2 categories of immigrants. 1. Those who could come up from countries of the Eastern Hemisphere, Europe, Asia, Africa. And 2. Those who could come from the Western Hemisphere countries, Canada, Mexico, and the nations of Central and South America. Congress fixed the ceiling of 120,000 total immigrants per year from the Western Hemisphere countries and 170,000 from the Western Hemisphere countries per year from the rest of the world. The Immigration Reform Act of 1965 established preference categories, giving higher preference to the people whose skills would be especially advantageous to the United States. Next in preference were unmarried adult children. They wanted children who weren't married to come. Yes, they did. And then it was the husbands. First you want unmarried children, now you want husbands? Now it's wives and unmarried children of permanent residents, and then professionals such as doctors, lawyers, and scientists. The lowest preference class individual included refugees from communist countries, or the Middle East, and victims of natural disasters. Natural disasters happen to be the last on the list. Wow, they don't care very much for those people, do they? Immigration Reform and Control Act of 1986. This is in 1986, boys and girls. It's a pretty long time ago. Well, not really. It was like, what, 30 years? To stem the tide of illegal immigrants, Congress passed the Immigration Reform and Control Act of 1986. This law also provided a way for illegal immigrants to become permanent residents and citizens. Remember, kids, if you can't understand what I'm saying, you can always go back on the scroll bar when you're watching the video on YouTube and re-listen to it. Then you get to hear this wonderful voice more and more. Well, let's continue. Control Act of 1986, this law provided a way for legal immigrants to become permanent residents and citizens, as well as punishment for employers who hire illegal immigrants. Yeah, they didn't like those employers too much, did they? The major provisions of the act included 1. Aliens who can show they entered the United States before January 1st, 1982 and have resided continuously in the country since then may apply for amnesty. If we're any immigrants watching this, you know what amnesty probably is. Maybe. Depends if you're a legal immigrant or not. Or if you've taken government class. Amnesty is a general pardon that government offers. In this case, to illegal aliens, they would first become lawful temporary residents. Then after 18 months, they would become permanent residents. 2. After 5 years of permanent residence in the United States, aliens may apply for... I should probably turn that to... whatever, you don't care. After 5 years of permanent residence in the United States, aliens may apply for United States citizenship. 3. Employers are forbidden to hire illegal aliens. They can't hire them at all. Those who do are subjected to penalties ranging from $250 to $2,000 for each illegal alien hired. For subsequent and consistent offenses, employers are subject to additional fines and even imprisonment. 4. Employers must ask applicants for documents such as passports or birth certificates to prove that they are either citizens or aliens qualified to work in the United States. Probably would help if you speak English too. I'm sure that will probably help. The Immigration Act of 1990. By 1990, 85% of the immigrants to the United States were coming from Asia and Latin America. In 1990, Congress passed a sweeping revision of the 1965 law. The new law was designed to once again take the countries of origin into account and admit more highly skilled, educated immigrants. The act established on a limit. It limited them again from any single country to no more than 7% of annual visas. It also established a transition diversity program designed to open immigration to nationals from countries adversely affected by the 1965 law, Europeans especially. Irish immigrants would benefit from these diversity visas. The new law allowed immigration to climb from about 500,000 people to about 700,000 people during each of the first 3 years. Then it leveled immigration to about 675,000 people per year. These totals did not include refugees or people who were fleeing in persecution from unjust governments from their homelands. The Immigration Act of 1990 encouraged immigration of workers for extraordinary abilities. Pretty much if you're good at something, they want to bring you in right away. Get extra amount of people for that. Providing 140,000 visas annually for people who had, in addition to the immigration quotes, the Immigration Act of 1990 established a category for special immigrants. Special immigrants fall into 3 groups. Refugees, displaced by the war. Close relatives of the United States citizen. Or those admitting through private laws passed by Congress. A private law is one that applies to a particular person. For example, a private law may allow a certain individual to enter the United States regardless of the numerical limits on immigration. Yes, it's finished. No more reading crappy book. Might come back to you guys in a few days, maybe a week. I don't know how. It depends how long until I have to read that thing again. But I hope this was a funny video or something educational. As long as someone enjoyed it, I guess it doesn't really matter. I mean, I enjoyed it a little bit, so I guess it doesn't matter a whole lot. But I mean, you guys can comment on whatever you want. I don't really care. But if you can, try to keep them at beat professional and not super angry. Because, I mean, I kind of made some comments that probably weren't the best. But hopefully you guys all had fun. I mean, it's mostly for the fun of it. And you learn a little bit on the side. Well, Peace out, homies. I don't know what you people are saying these days, but whatever. Have a good day, good evening, good morning, whatever time it is for you, I don't know. If you're an immigrant person, you should probably become a citizen soon. Just warning, it doesn't sound like it's too much fun. Have a good day. This is not Soviet Russia, don't worry, I'm not actually Russian.